Hello, everybody. Welcome to Trading the Close. My name is Drew Dosick. And guys, today the markets did take a little bit of a relief from selling pressure. Software stocks did pop up just ever so slightly. Looks like the selling pressure for this AI disruption play for software could be over with, at least for the near term. I think a lot of investors had that overblown, which actually created great buying opportunities for select software companies. Also, we've got the State of the Union address tonight. Don't think that's going to move markets that much, but what will is tomorrow after hours with Nvidia earnings. We've been somewhat lighter and muted on a lot of big movements in the stock market this week, mainly because we have Nvidia earnings. Nvidia is the biggest company in the stock market. You better believe there's a lot of money that's going to be paying attention to those earnings tomorrow after hours. So I anticipate tomorrow to be a little bit more muted as well until we get those earnings after hours. So until then, let's take a look at the charts, what moved today and where we're currently at before we tee it up for those Nvidia earnings tomorrow. All right, guys, first up, the S&P 500 did put in a nice day, up 0.77%. But you see here, it's all still trading right in yesterday's candle. Still larger pattern, downward move. Bear flag pattern on this chart, on the daily chart, should be implying more of a probability chance of breaking this trend line at 6,800 points. That's still the line in the sand, has not been touched today, but as you see here, very nice push up on the S&P 500. Now, if we have Nvidia earnings and those turn out to be robust and also provide good guidance, we could be pushing up to test the top end of this parallel again, which would also mean testing all-time highs also, and also lastly, the 7,000 point mark at the top of this parallel. Next up, we've got the Nasdaq. Now, the Nasdaq also put in a nice day today, getting up a little bit higher on its chart than the S&P 500. Also, if I flip over to the hourly chart, you can see what the Nasdaq is trying to do. We've got this declining trend line on the chart. And price yesterday tried to get above. It did, but then came right back in. Pardon me, on last week on Friday, got above. Then Monday came right back in, got rejected. Here today, we're now putting in an attempt to break out again. Nice bullish consolidation on the 1 hour time frame too. Be watching this tomorrow. Obviously, you can see this with this wedge pattern. We're coming very close to the end of this wedge. Price was going to have to decide to break up or break down. At this current state, it is breaking up, has not yet been confirmed. So we'll see if that occurs tomorrow, pushing up higher than current price action today on the NDX. If we do so, next resistance, 25,486 points. Support's going to be down here at 24,117 points. Next up, SMH closed at brand new all-time highs today. Also tagged all-time highs today. That was mainly off of the semis pushing up. Mainly Taiwan Semi pushed up nicely. We also had Nvidia push up ever so slightly. We'll look at that chart just here in a few moments. But guys, I do want to point out, a lot of charts to go through today. Hang around to the end. We've got big deals that were proposed today in some of these stocks. Some got great lifts like AMD, but then it actually just was a little muted too, mainly because of Nvidia's earnings. So hang around to the end. I'll deliver on some great chart analysis for you at that time. All right, so into the next chart with Bitcoin. Bitcoin today did see some more selling pressure, but you see we're happening to close right near the low end of yesterday's price range. Pretty good bounce so far on Bitcoin, trying to save itself. Notice what's happening on the bottom of the screen, this RSI. We made lower RSI over here when price was lower. We've gotten very close to it, yet we've got a higher RSI. So we're starting to put in some divergence on the daily RSI chart that could imply near-term bounce opportunity. As I said, up to around the $75,000 level is my first target. Second target could be at $83,000. So just to be clear, I'm near-term still bullish on Bitcoin until price breaks this green candle to the downside. If it does that, then probabilities shift heavily for more downside in Bitcoin. I still think the larger play in Bitcoin is coming down here sub $40,000, but I think we're due for a near-term bounce. As you see clearly on this weekly time frame, look at that RSI now under 30, clearly overbought near term or oversold near term, due for a technical bounce. Next up, gold. Saw some of the selling pressure reemerge in gold, hitting some resistance and pulling back in, taking a pause on the day. Also, another metal that did so. And you see, this is no disruption here for gold, just taking a pause day. Nothing that big. If you're a bull, you want to see price action consolidate sideways to then reattack this inclining top end of the parallel at $5,385. Next up, silver also took a little bit of a pause, but where did it pause? Right on top of this parallel. In addition, it paused right here near the top range of this big red candle from February 5th. That tells me silver's still not out of the woods as far as being in bullish mode, more so like on the gold chart. We still have to get through these levels, get above these pivots that occurred back here at the beginning of February, and then we can talk about trying to attack this inclining trend line. As you see here, it does get above $100. So that could be an opportunity for silver again to push up higher. We just need to clear these hurdles first and establish ourselves above the parallel. Then that can release some buying pressure to reattack that trend line. Otherwise, if we fail in this range, we're kind of at a crossroads of silver. Because if we fail right here, that still has the probabilities of a bigger move down, sideways consolidation. The macro move on this is actually still coming down to this inclining trend line right around $63. We'll just watch this and monitor this area very closely over the next couple of days, as that will either be the on switch for buying or the off switch for buying, and in turn, selling pressure on silver. Next up, nat gas. Just follow through on nat gas. As yesterday, a nice sell and rejection from the bottom of this parallel. Nat gas continued lower to the bottom range of this consolidation that's occurred over the past couple of weeks. I still am bearish near $2.71. I do anticipate that to get tagged within the next couple of days. We'll then reevaluate to see if the 241 level will get touched or not at that point. Move on the day for keys. Now, keys, what they do test a lot of electronic components, chips, etc., for AI data centers. And this is starting to become a key critical company for testing the complicated AI data center build-outs to ensure all of these computer components are working correctly, considering that they are adding so many on top of each other. It is quite complex. And when you add that many, thus Keys came out with robust earnings as well as robust guidance, pushed up on the charts 23.05% of the parallel channel. Now, this parallel channel would have been resistance had we just chopped along sideways, not had this earnings, had price come straight up. Matter of fact, we were overbought already going into earnings. This just put us even more in overbought territory at 86.46 on the daily RSI. Now watch when I flip over to the weekly chart, you can see where this trend line is back to March of 2015 here in 2021. This could be the near-term destination for Keys should we continue surging up on the charts, right around $313 in Keys. I would highly encourage right here in this range, as that should be resistance. Look at this weekly RSI at 87.65. We should have profit takers come back in, and we could have price on Keys coming down here to $257.34. Much like how I've described how many of these charts all do this and repeat on these patterns. They like to break out and or the trend line that was established in which it was trading before. So these sort of patterns, fantastic if you're long on them, but just be sure to take profits because price doesn't stay here forever, folks. All right. So next up, we've got AMD. Now, AMD came out. They were actually the recipient of a new commitment from Meta to buy $60 billion in AI chips. So nice padding of the books there for AMD. AMD initially ripped off that news, got up as high pre-market as $227, and then retreated back in the day to open down here at $211.63. Now, price then sold off, filled this gap right over here on February 13th, and then settled the day out here at $213. Great move, though, at the end of the day for AMD, but a little curious since it did sell off from $227 down here underneath this inclining trend line. And this is a very clean inclining trend line from pivot over here in April lows to this pivot in September 18th. Notice how that cuts right from where price action dropped on earnings. And when it dropped on earnings and got a pop, it got rejected right here on this trend line. So that clearly states the line in the sand for AMD to get back into bullish mode and start pushing up higher on the charts. It needs to jump this trend line, which is currently right around $223.82. That number is going to increase the longer it takes for price to get there. So be mindful of this trend line, as that's clearly dividing the bullish and the bearish scenarios here on AMD. Also, please note when price did just went back and retested. Guys, this is repetitive over and over, back down to support, and has since now gotten a pop. Beautiful stuff on the charts right there. So into Meta, the one who is buying all the AMD chips, didn't really see a robust pop as we see here on the charts. Matter of fact, 0.32%. Now notice this near-term move down and now sideways consolidation. That's a bearish pattern that's occurring here on Meta after this wonderful rebound from $600 all the way back over $700. Notice when it went in the top 50% of this parallel, it did not confirm. We did not have a follow-up day pushing it higher, leaving it vulnerable to period rather than it being a solid level of support. So we have price consolidation. It's still likely implying we're going to come back down, retest these pivots that occurred in January, right around $600 on Meta. Be watching for a little bit more downside in the near term on that chart. Next up, we got PayPal. PayPal, the rumors have been swirling both yesterday and today of a potential takeover of Pay. Surface today is a company called Stripe, and at the very beginning stages of talking with banks to try to provide funding for. All right, so you can see investors really started rocketing the price up on PayPal the last couple of days, moving price from here at $41.50, now closing the day up here at 40 cents, a little over 10%, 12 to 15% in 2 days on the stock market. I think PayPal could be going higher. Now, keep in mind, no price point has been discussed. We're at the beginning stages of this potential takeover. So no price point's been pegged on. Analyze where we see resistance and where there could be key levels hit on the charts so that mindful investors that are in PayPal could look to start taking profits, because sometimes these deals just don't pan out for whatever reason, whether it be for loaning and the banks or whether it be through any other SEC regulation. Sometimes these deals just don't work out. But right now, the stock takes them off the table if it is in the money. All right. So where can you do that? First resistance right here at $48.08. If we continue to see a surge tomorrow, busting through this resistance level, we will have gap fill at 52.30, followed by a significant resistance level. Continues all through this discussion of takeover, we could be talking about a price pushing up just sub $60. That's where I see the most immediate sort of price point to be pegged for a takeover of that stock. Next up, we've got Roblox, and really just what I'm going to do is a couple other software companies to go over. Just highlight the fact that they had a nice pop today. Roblox up 7.46%. This has been the recipient of a lot of selling pressure with AI disruption. Great move up here, but a couple things I want to highlight. Notice how this price dates all the way back here to May of 2024. When it did so, it broke, came back up, tried to get above, never confirmed, broke right back down again. And then now we find ourselves coming right back up to approach ourselves for the resistance level here at $69.20. Now we stretch that out a few more days, $69.50. So be watching that range just above $69 for resistance. If we can get back above there and confirm, bullish scenario is turned back on and we could start moving back up on the charts. There is a resistance level right here, all these pivots. That could be the area where price pulls back after confirming for a buying opportunity. Nice springboard bounce play on that trend line. Be watching that trend line and price action around it very closely if you are an investor in Roblox. Also, let's check out CRM real quick. Salesforce selling pressure was over, guys. At least started having great pushes up on the day, really ending a lot of the blood that was in the streets for the most recent sell-off. Next up, we've got Apple. Now, Apple also did commit for a large deal today. They didn't want to be left out with Meta building out their AI. So Apple came out and announced they're buying 100 million advanced chips. Apple pushed up on the charts, unlike Meta, that really just stayed flat. So a couple things I'm watching on Apple. You can see this declining trend line here on the chart. That will be the first level of resistance right up here at $278.78. Now, also, we're coming right off a nice 3-bar surge move. So we likely are going to start seeing a lot of resistance come 275 to 278. Beating this level will then again free opportunity for Apple to push and reattack the top end of this parallel channel at 290. Critical moments over the next 2 trading days for Apple. Can we bust through here? Can we then accomplish another breakout and get above that trend line, which would then bode well for higher price movement on this chart of Apple? Lastly, we got Taiwan Semi, and I got one more chart to go over, and that is Nvidia. I want to make sure to cover that before the earnings. To me, they were the recipient of Apple's purchase, or at least commitment to purchase, and you can see here another brand new all-time high on Taiwan Semi. Very nice move here on the chart today, up 4.25%. It didn't tag the next resistance level as displayed here with this inclining trend line, but a couple things on this chart. We have a longer term inclining trend line. All right, so let me just rewind the time back. There we go. On the weekly chart, notice this pivot back here from January of 2025 strung together with this pivot here in October of 25. All right, so that establishes that trend line, and we clearly see here price broke out, confirmed, pushed higher, and what did it do? Came back and retested the top of this trend line. Matter of fact, it plunged through this area all just to return back up on the top of the charts above this trend line. So it's interesting how this repeats over and over, whether it's breaking to the upside or breaking to the downside. It often wants to come back, test that candle, and then proceed higher on the charts. Now, Taiwan Semis in this current momentum, guys, this is looking like it's going to start trailing this inclining trend line. Now, stuff doesn't go up forever. We see here on the daily RSI at 71.44, the weekly RSI 80.17. We're due for some sort of a meaningful pullback and sustained consolidation on TSM. We're just not getting it yet. When we do get any sort of pullback, you better believe it's going to come first right here to this inclining trend line right around $356.94. Lastly, we got Nvidia. Let's take a look at this. Now, Nvidia too had a nice day today, pushed up about 0.68%, but mainly why I bring this to your attention, we're now closing back within this parallel channel. So that opens the door for tomorrow for us to push higher above this candle at $193.77. If we get a close up here, that should mean the bottom end of this parallel should be support going into earnings. Plus, we are right at the top of this red candle. So we really at an inflection point. Do we then break above into this parallel, break above this red candle, which would be very near-term bullish on Nvidia? Or does all of that get wiped out and price action gets rejected right here at the trend line or in the bottom of the parallel? This is going to be really interesting to see tomorrow. It could be a major, major decision maker for the stock markets, at least in the near term. All right, guys, that concludes Trading the Close today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Send this out to your friends and family so they too can learn technical analysis and start making some good money trading stocks here in the stock market. All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Again, State of the Union tonight. Nvidia earnings after the bell tomorrow. That's what everybody's waiting for. Can't wait for it. Look forward to seeing you guys then. Until then, you guys have a fantastic day. Take care.